You're now in the part of the semester where you will be forming your own research question. This is otherwise known as a PICO question. So earlier in the semester, we talked briefly about social determinants of health and some of the larger categories of those. And these are listed here in your directions, where you can see the primary and the secondary social determinants of health. Whether you choose a primary one or secondary one does not matter. It's just showing you how those are delineated. So what you're going to be doing is using that social determinant of health that you selected that's of interest to you and that affects your community. We're going to form a PICO question within that. Here in just a moment I'll show you an example, but if you want to see different ways to specifically word PICO questions, you can go to this link, and it's kind of like a Mad Lib setup where it shows you where each of these components can go. But the P in PICO stands for patient, population, or problem of interest. Most of yours will have to focus on a population as we're looking at social determinants of health, which is mostly population focused. I is the intervention that you were selecting or the issue of interest. C is what you're going to compare that to. So if you're comparing the intervention, are you comparing it to a different intervention or to the absence of any intervention or what's being done now? And then O is the outcome. That's what you would actually be looking at measuring on the other end of that. If you put this intervention in place, how does that change the outcome? Now, as you look down under the directions, you will see again that list of social determinants of health. You'll need to list which social determinant of health you're addressing. So, for example, utilities needs or education or health behaviors. Then beside that, you're going to let us know what issue or topic within that determinant of health you will be addressing. And then you're going to form a PICO question based on that. Again, this is what we just kind of went over a moment or two ago about what each of those are. There is an exemplar in here that I'll show you. But what you're going to do is you're going to write and label your PICO question. I'll show you that in the example, as well as what would be a potential implication of the findings to improve health sustainability. Again, this is upstream thinking, and I know that a lot of the questions won't immediately look like they are a nursing issue or a health issue, but all of these affect nursing care and health downstream. So, for example, if the social determinant of health that was being addressed was education, and the specific issue was looking at school attendance within that, the population could be elementary school children in low-income schools. The intervention could be a leader for a walking school bus. And if you're not familiar with what that is, I put a link here, but it's pretty much where a designated adult will go through the neighborhood, starting at one in the neighborhood, and walk through towards the school each morning so that kids have a group to walk with. It increases safety. It also increases accountability. So if a kid doesn't show up, someone will go up and knock on the door. Anyway, so the walking school bus each morning and afternoon. The comparison is compared to unsupervised walking to school, and the outcome would be increased attendance rates. So if I looked at that together, the PICO question would be, for elementary school students in low-income schools, are attendance rates better when a walking school bus is done daily compared to when students walk unsupervised to school? If you notice, each of these components is labeled. So there's my population, which is the elementary school students in low-income schools. My outcome, and notice these don't go exactly in order. My outcome, I'm looking at attendance rates. The intervention is the walking school bus, and the comparison is unsupervised walking to school, which is what is done most of the time now. Now, under implications for health sustainability, regular attendance allows students to have more lessons about health and how to care for their body, as well as grants them access to healthy meals each day. It also gives them a safe place to go, responsible adults that they can turn to, role models. There's a lot of other components, but this would be a good synopsis for how, and I know that a walking school bus may not look immediately like a nursing intervention, but if that allows students to have higher attendance rates, which gets them more healthy meals and proper education and lessons, then that downstream affects what nurses are seeing as far as both public health nurses, school nurses, but also what is seen in acute care settings when we start looking at issues like malnutrition and other issues like that. So it says take a quiz, and I know that that may be a little misguided, but this is not automatically scored. This isn't like your practice activities. What you'll be doing is each prompt that we've asked you to answer, there is a box where you will answer that. And so you'll submit them, each portion at a time. So there's your P, your I, your C, your O, the PICO question as a whole with your labels in it, as well as the implications for health sustainability. Once you finish all of that, you will hit submit your quiz. That's a slightly different format than we've used in the past, but it has been brought to our attention that many students complete their assignments on tablets or on phones instead of on laptops or computers, and this makes for a much more interactive version where you can submit that without having to worry about the formatting going askew. So if you have any questions, please reach out, and that is the end of what you're doing for your week 4 assessment.